So the point is, the reason why this is called quality control, and well, that's what it says on the, I might not say it on that thing, but on the email, that's what I labeled it, is because uh, that's what where we risk putting ourselves in a place where we are not giving the customers the right the right attitude and environment, honestly, to make ourselves successful. So it's not just about hey, setting leads. A big part of our job is making sure that we leave our neighborhoods in a good place, that we are setting each other up for success in the future. And it's not just about Renewal by Andersen success. I mean, that's a big portion of it, but it's also about what's right for people too, and what's just right. So I was just about to tell you guys a story, and I said, I'll put that on camera. I don't care. I was down in the Philadelphia area, and those vacuum cleaner salespeople. You ever see those people before? It was a Saturday, and I had just gotten to work, so it was like 9 o'clock. Our shift was on Saturday, then like our natural shift, and so we always had all of our teams out. So I get there at like 9 o'clock, and I get a call from my wife, and she says, "Oh, hey, this girl just stopped at our house trying to sell us a vacuum cleaner." I was like, get her out of the house. She's going to be there forever." She's like, "No, she said it would take 15 minutes." So I get out of work at 4 o'clock. I go home. She's still in the house doing a demo and stuff like that. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I said, you know what? You started that. You can deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not dealing with it. So I go up, I take the kids, I go upstairs, and I hear her say to the girl, look, obviously he's not interested. I know you were waiting for him to come home to see if you could sell him, but that's just not going to work out. Like, you have to leave. And the girl goes, okay, let me call my manager, right? The manager comes up and he walks into my house. He walks into my house to like get his work or whatever. Now, I didn't know this because I'm upstairs, but I hear him then talking to my wife, and I'm like, what's going on? So I kind of walk partially downstairs, and he says something along the lines of, "What, your husband won't buy your new vacuum?" or something like that. And so I came downstairs, and I'm like, get the fuck out of my house, right? And he said something like, "What are you going to do about it, tough guy?" Something along the lines of that. And so I brought him to the door physically, and I threw him out the door. And he got up and tried to come back at me, like he was gonna. I don't know if he was gonna pitch me again or if he was gonna hit me or whatever. But I didn't give him time to. I hit him first, and he called the cops. So now the cops are there. Luckily, I knew the police officer, and they just waited for them to leave. They took me in the police car. They drove me around the block and dropped me back off at home. But I will never buy a vacuum from those people. Never. You know what I'm saying? Like, ever, ever. I didn't think it was worth my time to call them and deal with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I probably could have sued them. They broke into my house. I probably could have had the guy arrested for breaking and entering. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I wish you could have him arrested for stealing our time. So it's a lot of time that but I mean, there's nothing good of that situation, and everything there. It was not driven by bad sales tactics. It was driven by bad people. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, the insane waste of time of spending 8 hours in one person's house. Like, if you're not making a sale in 8 hours, you're putting all of your stock in that one. And I think the reason why she did it was because it was an easy, hey, I could just sit on this couch all day and hang out. She sat there watching TV with my family. She was a nice girl, watching TV with my family for like 8 hours and just having drinks and food and just hanging out literally in my house for 8 hours. So yeah, absolutely nuts, right? But I mean, I think that's why she did it, because she didn't really want to do her job. She's just like, screw it. You know what I'm saying? Um, she did like three houses all day. We were the third one. So it's just, but like, there's no positive from that. Their time in that neighborhood ended right there. They couldn't do anything after that. Once the police came, they had no permits. They got pulled for that. So I mean, it's an entirely wasted day. Number one, Number two, you're killing customers there. You don't think I told my entire neighborhood about that? Of course I did. You know what I'm saying? They're all wondering why the police are at my house. Of course I'm going to. So um, it's just something that it's a very obvious problem with that. Now, we're not doing this kind of stuff out there. If we were, then I mean, we let people go pretty quickly for that. But we're definitely having situations out there where customers don't feel like they're being treated properly, and it's causing a lot of problems. We're also having a lot of issues with identifying window problems in the wrong way, or the wrong problems, or not at all. And this is causing issues. So I'm going to go through all this stuff today. I'm going to try to get through it as quick as I possibly can. But I'm going to start by telling you guys a story about one of our canvassers that struggled with this a bit. So we have a canvasser. We had a canvasser who back in like November of last year started getting complaint calls in. Now he had never had them before. His numbers were great. He was doing fantastic. I mean, he was one of our best guys. All of a sudden, his numbers went down significantly to next to nothing. And we started getting like 2 to 3 complaint calls in per week. Now, think about that. The amount of people that are calling in, how many people are not calling in that have problems, right? For every one call that we get in, there's probably 10 other customers out there that feel alienated. So if that's 30 or 40 customers a week that he's alienating, think about the people that they talk to on a daily basis and what they have to say about our company. Very quickly, you're talking about millions of dollars gone, right? So I sat down with him. He openly admitted, yeah, I've been frustrated with customers. So I've been acting frustrated with customers. And I said X, Y, and Z or whatever. I said, okay, well, we can't have that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do some training and whatever. But he kept his job, right? Started doing fantastic again. Right? Positive attitude, he does extremely well. As soon as he gets to the negative, and no longer doing well. And so, I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, that's what happens to a lot of people. So fast forward to like a month ago, same thing starts to happen. Same person, right? So we know what the problem is. He openly admits it. He asked for a one-on-one and he says, hey, I've been being mean to customers, basically, So I talked to his team lead and I talked to Cole and I said, hey, I think we got to deal with this different this time. There has to be a no tolerance policy for it. We can't say, hey, you can figure this out in a week. It has to be a now. This needs to change. And so we sat down with him and I said, listen, I get it that you have a lot of stuff going on. Happy to help you in any way. If it's an addiction thing, then we'll get you rehab. If it's a counseling thing, we'll get you anything for you. But we can't have you out there for one more day treating customers this way. So go home, think about it, and decide whether or not this is going to work out for you. If you can't be 100% positive with people, it's not the job for you. And so he came in the next day and he said, I just don't think I can, like, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be nice. I appreciate the honesty. You know what I'm saying? But think about going to his neighborhood. Imagine if you go to my neighborhood. Imagine just, for example, that I just have a shitty attitude on, right? And I'm going up to houses and every time a customer says my windows are fine, I'm going, yeah, okay. All right. Obviously you don't know anything about them. It's fine. Yeah, yep. Have a good day. And then if a customer is like, I don't have any time, like, look like you're not doing anything to me, right? Like stuff like that at every house I go to, little dickhead things to say. Imagine going to that neighborhood 6 months from now. Imagine the things that you'll have to deal with and you won't even know. You're just going to go, man, people seem like assholes in this neighborhood. You don't even know why. You know what I'm saying? And that's the tough part with it. So now you can get over that still. Obviously, that's what it takes sometimes. It takes a reset on that. But if we don't do that to each other, then we never have to go through that. We never have problems, right? Now you guys should all get a pen too, please. Okay. Yeah, just get a couple pens here. I got one right up here too. All right. So, our goals here are to define what a quality lead is, because the other issue is we have this issue of no demos, which we'll go over when we get to it. Discuss unacceptable no demos and how they happen. Address the sharp rise in negative reviews involving our canvassers, and showcase how to identify a renewal by Andersen window and when to contact our service department. Okay. That's something we didn't even get to yesterday. So I'm going to breeze through this. All right. So what are the elements in a quality lead? Now, yesterday we sat down and I took all these answers from a crowd of people. All right. I'm going to give you guys what they came up with just to, again, save time. So what are the elements of a quality lead? Number one, expectations. The customers have to know what they're receiving. So for example, if I set an appointment just for, oh, they're just going to come on and check out your windows. They're just going to examine your windows or whatever. That's not a proper appointment, right? That's not a proper appointment, right? I don't, if I'm scheduling an appointment, I want the expectations to be clear. They know what they're getting. They're getting a free quote. It's good for a full year. We're locking in some promotions. We're giving them other promotions, and we're checking out their windows and so on and so forth, right? I don't want them just to think it's for one thing. If they just think it's for a quote, then they're not going to accept the time issue, the time thing, the 90 minutes. If they think it's just for an inspection, then they're not going to accept the quote. All right, second, need or pain, so some sort of problem, some level of buy-in. So it could be need or pain or the promise of need or pain. What I mean by that is this, is that there's no problem with, especially if you're being honest, there's no problem with putting down on a lead, 20-year-old vinyl windows, haven't seen a ton of problems yet, but definitely older. That's at least honest. What you don't want to do, and what you'll notice from these no demos and from the negative reviews, is it's all us lying to customers about what we see that's causing this problem. And we're not setting those people up, number one. Number two, it's not necessary. We'll go over some ways to get through this, but the window problem conversation is a delicate thing. And if we're going up to every house and saying, hey, I see warping, hey, I see warping as a default thing that's just not true, then it's going to cause a lot of bad reactions, right? There's plenty of houses that I was talking to the sales manager the other day. I said, listen, my job is not to get need. He's like, well, yes, it is. I said, no, within reason it is. But my job is to identify windows that need to be replaced. In my opinion, just like a car, if you have a car for 7 to 8 years, and it's got 130,000 miles on it, and you know that it starts having problems after 100,000 miles, my suggestion to you is going to be work to replace that vehicle at some point in time, right? Maybe not right now, but very soon. You don't have any problems yet, right? But very soon. It's out of warranty. The transmission hasn't gone yet, but we know that those cars start to have transmission trouble soon, right? You should probably replace it before it's a major issue. That is a high cost product, right? 40, 50 grand at this point. You can't get a good car for less than that. You know what I'm saying? So windows are the same thing. If I go up to a house and they're out of warranty, they're vinyl windows that are 15 years old, they're out of warranty, I know that they're probably not energy efficient. I can say with confidence they've lost energy efficiency 100%, right? I can see that there's a little bit of oxidation, maybe like that, but no major issues. I'm scheduling that because these are old vinyl windows, and I'm going to be honest in the notes about it. That's the thing that the way to not put a rep in a bad situation is say, listen, they know the windows are bad, they know they're old, but they don't see any visual problems with them, but they're relying on you to show them that, right? That's not a bad thing for a rep to see. What is bad is when they come out, they see a bunch of check boxes for mold and discoloration and warping, and they get out there and they're like, and the customer's like, I don't know, the guy said I might have those problems. I don't know. That's where the issue comes up, right? That's where it looks like we're lying to the customers at that point. Okay. And then showcase. Okay. So the third thing, they're not set under a false pretense. So what that means is that we don't want to schedule the person again for just an inspection, or one that's been popping up a lot. And you'll see in one of these reviews that we're going to give them, what do they call it in the review? They call it a full home energy efficiency report. It's not a thing. That's setting up a false expectation, a false pretense. Okay. At least 90 minutes, more than 90 minutes is the next thing. Okay. The two-party commitment and why they need the two parties there. We need them to understand, hey, this is important, because the other thing that you'll see addressed in the no demos is one parties. We have to have a zero tolerance policy for one party situations, because minus a couple scenarios I'll go over, but because they're not helping us in any way. Okay. We prefer to have multiple phone numbers. We need multiple forms of contact. So we prefer to have phone numbers and an email. If they don't have multiple different phone numbers, then it is what it is, but at least an email on there would be preferred. A sellable situation. So if we know that they are just going through a bankruptcy right now, if we know that both homeowners are unemployed, right? Things like that, those things should stop us from setting up those appointments. Okay. Now, what they do is they require you to ask questions. So let's say someone goes, no, I'm not interested right now, I'm unemployed. Then I'm going to say to them, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. How's the job hunt going? And if they say, I'm starting in a couple weeks at one, you got to be comfortable asking questions like that. Okay, I wouldn't want to put you in a bad situation. That being said, is there anybody else in the home that works? Right? ask questions like that. Hell, in a situation like that, if you run into an unemployed customer or whatever, then say, hey, we do have a lot of great employment opportunities at Renewal by Andersen. I could definitely see if any of those fit for you. Give their phone number to me. I'd be happy to call them and talk with them at least. Who knows? You could get a referral bonus from it. So, but that's all helpful stuff. A sellable situation, we don't need to sell the windows, but our job is not to put the rep in a situation where they cannot sell. And they cannot sell windows. A person that they live in a home, two people, no job, they're not on any fixed income or retirement, right? They're not going to be able to get a loan for windows at all. It's not a sellable situation. Some sense of urgency to the problems or wanting to learn more about them, which we talked about. I don't really get to extend upon. All right. You should never set a lead if, okay. So I hope you guys wrote those things down. You should never set a lead if it's a trailer or mobile home, okay, unless they very specifically have 2x6 walls, okay, 2x6 walls. So the question is Mr. Jones, our windows only fit in a certain amount of trailers or mobile homes? Are these walls 2x6? They're going to know most likely, especially if they built it. And they have to be on a permanent foundation, okay? That being said, we're never going to put you in trailer parks or mobile homes. If your manager puts you in a trailer park or mobile home, then call them immediately and then come to me afterwards, because that's inadequate management. You can see from any top level map, you can tell a mobile home park from a mile away. The problem that manager is doing then at that point is they're only going on the ground force app, where it doesn't show you the houses. It just shows you dots, right? So every map looks good on that because you see a ton of dots. But reality is could be land, it could be trailers. So you have to look at Zillow to see what the houses look like. It takes 2 seconds, and you can see the top view, and you'll be able to tell in a second. If it's a trailer park, then it just looks like lines. You know what I'm saying? As you can imagine what a trailer park would look like from an aerial view. You know what I'm saying? All right, the person has dementia or some other mental illness that's not allowing them to not making them capable of making a decision. Okay. Now this has come up, by the way, too, when it comes to the two-party thing, right? We need both people there. We know that, right? The two situations in which we don't need people there, and we'll extend on this later on, but is if the person, let's say that the spouse has dementia. Now you got to think about this for a second, okay? If the spouse is in a nursing home, okay, then it's fine. We don't need them there. We're not going to go cart them out of the nursing home to come home for an appointment. That's ridiculous, right? If they're in the hospital for an extended period of time, like they're in hospice or something, if the person has dementia and they're not in the hospital and they're not at home, then where the fuck are they? You should call the police. Like, where the fuck are they? Are they roaming the streets? That's dangerous. It's concerning. Those silver alerts, right? You ever see that on the highway? Silver alert, right? Because some old person got out of their house and they're out of their mind. They're driving around like an idiot, right? That's a deeper issue, okay? It's, of course, if they have dementia and they're at home, we're not going to go, oh, listen, no, you got to make them sit for an appointment. For what? They have no idea what's going on. Well, like, why would you make them sit for an appointment? So that's an acceptable one-party situation. The only other one is if they're an active military and they're overseas for an extended period of time, or out of town for an extended period of time. That's the other scenario in which we could set up an appointment for a one-party situation. Basement hopper windows without a wood frame. Okay, so if you got one of them old basements and it's just the metal windows that are in cement, we don't do those neither. Okay. Most log cabins we don't do, but you're not really going to run into that. Renters, we do not set renters. Okay. And with most landlords, we don't set them neither. Now, what I mean by that is you can set a landlord. You can set some of that. We've sold apartment buildings before. 100%, you can set them. What you have to say to that person is, listen, this is a high quality window. Okay. It's not a cheap window. So if you don't live in the home, then I want to make sure you understand this is a very good window. Right? It's great for your home value. It's great. It's a great window to have, but you have to want to put that in your home. Is that something that you're interested in? Simply, right? Because the only time that's going to come up is if the person says to you, listen, I'm a landlord. I have another house that I want looked at. That's the only time it's going to come up. So you can ask that person, are you interested? Because they just told you that they are, right? So you can ask that question pretty fine without any problems, right? But that's why you want to say this is a high quality window. Happy to come out and see you. That being said, is that what you're looking for your rental property, right? If they say yes, great, set them up. Houses that are for sale. And this came up the other day, and it's very important, guys. Do you guys understand why we don't do houses that are for sale? I understand if you don't. You want me to go over it? Do you understand why? Okay, cool. The biggest reason why, too, for I guess if this is being recorded, the biggest reason why is that think about it for a second. Now, here's the deal. If they say, hey, I'm thinking about selling, set them up. If they say, hey, I'm going to be selling in 6 weeks, set them up. If the house isn't on the market yet, set them up. Basically, if there's not a sign in front of the house, then set them up. Okay. But if there is a sign in front of the house, that means they are under contract. Okay. Which means that you could say, the home value, this, that, whatever, right? It's going to raise the home value to put Andersen windows in it, not by that much. All right. If their sell price on their house is $300,000, let's say, okay, and let's say it makes the house value go up by 5% even, which is a lot. That's 15 grand. Their job is going to be more than 15 grand. So they would have to pull the house off the market. Okay. Stop whatever they're doing, probably because they're probably trying to buy another house, right? So stop that. Stay in that property and not move. Okay. Probably, right? Wait 8 to 12 weeks after they buy for install just to sell the house for less than they paid for the windows. Doesn't make any sense at all. Not to mention all the difficulty of canceling things like that. When you're locked in with a realtor, you're under contract. You have to actively solicit their advice. You can't just go, okay, now my house isn't for sale, right? There's a process there. So the realtor's probably going to go, no, that's stupid, right? Now, ultimately, you can pull it off the market, but they're not going to go through that, right? So it's unrealistic. Now, that being said, any other situation, if they haven't put the contract up, here's what I tell my family, by the way, too. You do not need to say this to customers, but what I tell my family if they say, hey, I'm interested in getting a renewal by Andersen Windows, is I tell them if you're going to be in your house for more than 5 years, then it's worth it. Because if you're in your house for 5 years, you're getting the benefit of all the energy savings for those 5 years, the look of the windows, stuff like that, and you're getting all of that return. The benefit of renewal by Andersen Windows is that even if they're 10 years old, you're getting 100% of that return investment back. It's not going to go down because they're 5 or 10 years old, because the warranty's still in place, right? So you're still going to, if it was going to increase home value by 5%, it's still going to increase home value by 5%. So that's the benefit of having renewal by Andersen Windows. But if your house is literally for sale, then it's not worth it. No uninsulated rooms. Okay, so what that means is this: you can set them up, but you shouldn't just set up a garage. Okay. Now, why? Because if the person just bought windows for their main house for $200 a piece or whatever, $1,000 a piece, why would they spend $3,000 a piece for their little front porch that has no heat or cooling, or their garage, right? So and I would just say that to the customer, if they're like, yeah, no, I'm really interested in getting the garage window done, I would say, okay, look, I want to let you know this is a high quality window, right? Now some people get them for their garage because they have like a sports car, something like that. That being said, it's going to cost more than your main house probably did, right? Per window, right? Is that something that you're comfortable with? They'll probably say no. Now, the exception to me is something like the attic, because heat rises. They're going to lose a lot of energy efficiency through the attic, for example, right? So most attics are insulated anyways, but that would be fine. But it's this like front porch, back porch, garage. Okay. Now, let's say they're a previous customer. Don't even ask them the question. They're fine because they know the cost of the window, and they're probably doing it to match the rest of their windows. That's probably why. So you don't got to question that at all. And you should actively pitch that, because there is a sell point for the sales rep. If you can't get over the one party, which we already talked about, Andersen windows that are under 17 years old, we should not be setting up. Okay. Andersen windows that are under 17 years old. So not renewal by Andersen windows. Those are not, but I mean Andersen windows in general. Renewal by Andersen shouldn't be set up either way, because that's a service call at this point. This company's only been around selling renewal by Andersen windows for 20 years or less. All those are service calls, So also anything service related. Let's say that you go to their house and all of their renewal by Andersen windows fell out and they're completely gone. They disintegrated overnight somehow, right? Something happened. Crazy. Never happened before, but it's happened now, right? You're not going to send a sales rep out to solve that, right? that's when you should call me, okay, or your territory manager, Cole, Seth, or Mo, and send them the customer information and say, hey, this person needs to be taken care of in this way, right? We'll get them set up with service, no problem. We don't do service of any kind. We don't replace screens. We don't replace glass packs. We don't replace sashes. We don't replace frames. We do full window replacement. Okay. All right. Any questions on any of that stuff? It's pretty cut and dry. That's where we're saving a lot of time, by the way, too. No demos. All right. So no demos are an important part of this business. They're going to happen to everybody. Everyone's going to have no demos. It's understanding what is an acceptable demo rate or no demo rate. And what's acceptable, guys, is 8 to 10%. That's a lot of your leads. So if you're setting, if you're issuing, let's say 5 per week, that's 20 per month roughly. Okay. 10% of those, so two of those 20, okay, should be no demos. They're going to happen, right? So what you want to do, by the way, if you want to stay at that 5 per week, is get 22, okay, 23. And then that way it accounts for that. But they're going to happen because customers forget about the appointment. Maybe you missed something about the house that you just, hey, I thought that we could do this and we couldn't, something like that. Not homes are a different thing than a no demo. Your demo rate all in with not homes should be about 85 to 88%. So that's 12% not homes and no demos. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that if let's say again, you're getting 20 demos a month, okay, then total about 2 to 4 of those will be no demos and not homes. And you want to account for that by getting 2 to 4 extra demos. You'll stay at that 5 demos a week, right? Because they're going to happen. Sales reps are also responsible for a portion of no demos. So what I mean by that is, and we end up paying on those. Okay. What I mean by that is that there's going to be, just like people in our job, there's going to be sales reps that make poor decisions as well. So for example, if let's say, I mean, we've had plenty of people called from work. We've had plenty of people, be late to something or whatever. Plenty of people set up an appointment and they leave the house and they go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have set that up. Sales reps are going to go through the same thing in a way. All right. Now, the way that we deal with that is I go into the sales meetings pretty often, probably bi-monthly now. And I'm not light on them at all. I am not easy with them. Up in West, I was in a meeting a couple weeks ago and a guy was telling me that he thinks that the quality of appointment that we set has gone down in West in the last couple of months. And I said, okay, so you telling me that canvassing is responsible for 100% of the demo rate? And he said, yeah, close to it. And I said, well, then have fun with the 74% demo rate because it's never going to change because we're not changing shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to happen, right? So I give them a ton of fight back. And we end up coming to a conclusion that, hey, canvassing is the most important department that we have in this company. And half of them wouldn't have jobs if we didn't have this department. That's the truth. That being said, they're responsible for a portion of it. The second thing is that we collect all the information from team leads and we verify no demos with the call center. So if you have a no demo, then it's going to get called by the call center. You're welcome to call it as well. Okay. But every one of those is going to be looked at and then a decision is going to be made on whether or not we should pay on it. Okay. One of the biggest things that's becoming a problem that we need to solve right now that shouldn't exist is one parties. Now, when we go through these no demos, you're going to notice that a huge trend of one party. Okay. It's so fucking ignorant on our part. It is so fucking ignorant because I've been in these situations. I know how it happens. The person goes, my wife might be there. I don't know if that's going to work for my wife. And we just keep at it like nothing's going on because we don't want to lose the appointment and we don't want to address the situation and get it dealt with. And so instead we just set up the appointment thinking, oh, hopefully the person's there. And what the problem is now in our business is that we used to classify one party separately. So if, let's say, for example, a rep went out to a house, you know how in the system you'll see demo, no sale, no demo, sale, right? There used to be something for not home for one party. And so it would classify separately. So we just wouldn't pay on those because they're not supposed to be set up, right? But now they classify with the demos and with the no demos. They don't classify separately. And so the problem is that at any point in time, what I should do is I should look through all the demos each week, all the no demos, everything, and not pay on any of the one parties. But if I did that, then people's pay would go down by on average 10%. So I haven't done that yet But I'm telling you right now, when we see, what I'm going to do is look for trends. If I see a trend one month where someone's setting up things like this, then the next month they're not going to get paid on any one parties, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it sells or not. We define a lead as an appointment with both people there, which means that there's no responsibility that we have for paying people for anything less than that. Right. That being said, it doesn't need to happen at all because we've operated this department has been now. If the call center sets it right as a one party, that means they've gotten some sort of that's their job is quality control. They've gotten some sort of okay from their manager to set it. That's fine. It is what it is. It's not our responsibility at that point. Okay. But most of those situations don't end up well. Okay, so the first one here. Mrs. was not home and Mr. wanted to reschedule because they had other things going on today. All right, so look, it's not egregious, right? Hopefully they rescheduled, right? But it's a one-party appointment. It's a one-party appointment, and it's scheduled for a time that obviously is not going to work. The second one, these are from the same. These two are from the same person. The husband George wanted to reschedule because his wife Greta was out for the day with her family. We called the call center and had it rescheduled for the 11th at 2 p.m. I was informed to result this as no demo. So both those situations, to me, I look at it and I go, the canvasser could have done a better job setting that, and they would have went through as demos. Both these people asked to reschedule. Neither one of them said, hey, I'm not interested. I don't want the appointment, right? So this is on our part, on our department, a screw up. We could have easily scheduled these appointments for both people there and not have ran into a problem. It might have been at a different day, a different time. Who knows? Maybe it would have went as a callback because they couldn't find a time, but it would have been better than the result here because what happened was we sent the guy out to their house. Now, understand this. Each appointment slot that we have is worth $5,000 to $7,000. Okay. Meaning, look at the schedule. If you have a full evening, okay, and a bad appointment in there, when a sales rep goes out to that bad appointment, that's $5,000 to $7,000 that the company could be making that they're not at that point because it could be a sale. On average, it's going to be 40% of the time a sale, right? So if you do the math on that, guys, each of these appointment slots, whenever we send somebody out twice, then the cost goes up by double. So that now turns into an appointment that cost us $10,000 or $14,000 instead of 5 or 7, right? Making our profit margin go down sharp. Now, what made this? Okay, so the next one, homeowner did not want me to come in. He said he just bought Andersen Windows a few years ago, and nothing is wrong with his windows. He said that he had to go help a friend at 11 a.m. There's a 10 a.m. appointment, so no 90 minutes, to fix a car. He only let me inspect the outside of the basement windows. I tried to get inside, but he said they operate fine. He has no complaints. He's not looking to replace the windows at this time. So they're set for basement windows that we shouldn't really be doing, okay? Because it's an unheated basement. Now, they were windows that we could do, so that's fine. All right. But there was no interest there. We didn't do a good job of harnering the interest. There was no other project there. It looks like the sales rep tried to get into these different projects. So it wasn't set in a proper way. Now, things like that are going to happen. Okay. They're going to happen. But the frequency is important. So these three next no demos are from the same person. Okay. That one and the next two. No, I'm sorry. That one's from a separate person. The next three are from the same person. My first appointment, so this is one that we went back out to. The homeowner was nasty, would not let me demo, and asked me to leave. This appointment, he told me on his porch that he didn't want me there, and that we pressure him to set appointments. He told me he wouldn't be, I wouldn't be selling him anything, and then asked me to leave when I asked why he set the appointment with us. So, again, something that's going to happen, but we have to consider the level of interest that we're gaining from the person if this is the result of that appointment, right? There obviously is no interest there. Now here's the thing, these last two leads, this one and the one right before that, I see them as stuff that can be booked, but the proper conversation needs to be had. The expectation needs to be set up. So for that guy, he expects us to come out and sell him something, obviously, right? So we can set the expectation in a better place. Potentially. It's not all the time. For the rep to come out to leave them with a quote. Same thing with the guy before that. Hey, we know you have Andersen Windows. You like them? Great. I'm glad you like them. This is great. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a breeze because you already have Andersen Windows. You're already an Andersen customer. My guess is you're going to go through Anderson for all your windows. Yeah, excellent, fantastic. I'll have them come out then. No big deal. They'll come in, take some measurements, leave with a free price quote. It's good for a full year. You can call us back when you're ready. If that's set up a proper way, then that's probably going to go through. Okay. The next one party, Mrs. only allowed me to take a look at one window. She said that when she would replace it, would replace it. Some of these notes are written terribly. It would be with MI windows because her boyfriend works for them and can give her a discounted price. I asked her why she had us out in the first place. She said to have an idea of pricing. I explained to her the different variables in window pricing and what other options tend to cost. And she said that she wouldn't be spending that kind of money. Okay. Now, I don't care about her boyfriend working for MI and this and that. I'd still schedule that. Okay. But what I would do, what should happen, it's a one party. The boyfriend should be there. Okay. The boyfriend should be there. That's the only way to combat that. Okay. And so we scheduled that as a one party because we assumed that's the live-in boyfriend. Okay. I went back and checked, but we assume that it's not that big of a deal because it's live-in boyfriend. It's not going to come up. That assumption. Okay. That's what customers are going to blame stuff on clearly. Okay. So this could be, again, a demo, but we schedule it as a no demo. Okay. The next one fits the same behavior. Customer works for the hospital and didn't have 90 minutes. No wife present. New baby on the way. Wouldn't let me do anything further than a one window inspection. Now, think about this, guys. Okay. Me as a manager, I'm looking at this and what similarities am I seeing with these appointments? Okay. And I'll save you the time by going through it. A, they're both one parties. Okay. B, both of these are set on a word track that makes the customer believe that we're going to inspect one window. Think about both of these two situations. First one party, Mrs. only allowed me to look at one window. Second one, didn't have 90 minutes, allowed me one window inspection. So clearly what our guy is saying, these are from the same people, is, hey, we'll save you time by going through one window. Right? That's clearly what our person is saying. Okay. And they're scheduling for one parties, but they shouldn't be doing either. This is from the same person. This person's highly effective in scheduling appointments. They do very, very well. One of the best in the department. That being said, this is not needed. They are too good for this. That's for sure. Last one. This is a big one. Homeowner only wanted to get a free full home energy efficiency report of her house. Doesn't exist. It's not a thing. She argued that my flare camera was not right and that her hand was more accurate. The canvasser told her that he is going to college this fall and is saving money. He gets paid if she agrees to an appointment. So that's the only reason why she set the appointment. Moved into the house 2 years ago, and the windows were installed right. It should say were installed right before she moved in. Not interested in the front door and side door. Had to be fire rated door. Didn't want to see the product, didn't want a price, wouldn't even allow me to leave with the RBA book. So that rep obviously tried everything. They went after the doors, they went after everything. Okay. But that is a dirty situation. Now, here's what could have happened. Probably did. What probably happened is that customer probably said, hey, do you get paid for this? Okay. And the guy said, oh yeah, I do. I'm going to college in the fall and this, and that. I don't think he was like, hey, if you schedule this appointment with me, then I'll get paid commission, this and that. Either way, it's not right. The proper way to deal with that, if a customer says to you, hey, do you make commission, right? You don't lie to them. Say, yeah, but that's not the reason why I'd ever schedule you for an appointment. I schedule you for an appointment because you need new windows. You need to at least get them looked at. That's why I have somebody come out here. Trust me, I'm fine. Don't worry about my commission, right? That's the way that you want to handle a situation like that. By the way, the same thing that you should say if somebody tries to offer you money. No, look, I really can't take that from you. I can schedule you for an appointment. You definitely need new windows, but I mean, it's okay. They pay me fine. I'd rather, you have the proper information to take care of your home, right? That's the way to deal with something like that. Because this makes us look scummy. It makes us look like we're not doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And the last part of that is again, we want to have accurate information down there. We're not out there to give them this energy audit report or whatever the fuck. Okay. All right. So do we understand these no demos and why they're important? Do you guys have any questions about it? Okay. The one party thing is important, making sure we're doing the right thing for the customer. Here's the deal. I look at all of those. They're all schedulable situations. All of them are. None of them are appointments where I look at it and I say, hey, that should not have been set. That I can say that should not have been set in that way. You know what I'm saying? But all those can be set and probably should be. Okay. Do you guys know what NPS means? Okay. NPS is Net Promoter Score. I had you guys fill out, I don't know if you did it yet or not, but I put something in GroupMe for you guys to fill out yesterday. Okay, there's a thing where it goes from 0 to like 10 or from -10 to 10 or something like that, like a scale. Okay. NPS is I'll read it here. It's known as Net Promoter Score. It's a metric that assesses the willingness of a customer or employee or whatever to recommend a company's product or services to other people. Essentially, the Net Promoter Score can be viewed as an indicator of customer loyalty and satisfaction. The metric aims to identify customers who are less satisfied with the company experience and product to transform into company promoters. So, for example, internet companies, right? Like Comcast and Verizon, they have a negative NPS for the most part. So NPS score goes from -100 to +100. Okay. Um, uh, Basically, it's a 1 through 10 rating. If somebody rates you a 9 or 10, then I'm sorry, if somebody rates you a 10, they are a promoter. Okay, an 8 or 9, then they are a passive. Okay, meaning that they're like they like your product, but they're probably not talking about it every day. And then a 7 and below is a negative. It's a detractor. They are not happy with your product or whatever. Okay, so that's a Net Promoter Score. Okay, it gives you a more accurate representation of how customers feel. Now, when you look at like Comcast, Verizon, stuff like that, their average Net Promoter Score is -5, +5, like right in that range. Okay, that's not good, but they have a monopoly on the business. They both suck equally, right? They both have terrible customer service. They both have terrible NPS scores, but that's all you can do. So they have this is what happens when somebody corners a market like that. You have no options, right? I love this show called The Strain. It came out in 2014. It's a great show. You should watch it. Have you guys seen it before? Oh, you should. It's on Hulu right now. It was on FX originally. It's about this plane touches down in New York, right? And it's just dead silent. It's like there's no movement from the plane, completely powers all dead, everything, right? Now, minutes before you see on the plane people freaking out or whatever because they find this coffin looking thing that's in the cargo hold. It's an international flight from Germany, and it's ends up being this vampire dude, right? And he the way that he turns people is by putting a parasite in them, like a worm, and then it replicates and duplicates, and then it kills the person, right? And then recreates their body, recreates their organs. Okay, it's pretty cool. And so a couple of the people wake up, like 4 people wake up, and they're turned in a different way. You can either be like a brain dead zombie vampire person, or you can be like completely cognizant, but still the master controls you. Okay. So those 4 people, whatever, are meant to do the master's bidding. They're slowly turning. The other people were killed and then recreated. So the reason why I say this is it's a great show, by the way. And I've totally lost my point. Right? Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is what I was going for. That's what I was going for. I was going for a corner on the market. So ultimately, this zombie apocalypse vampire thing happens or whatever, right? And the vampires kind of take over, and they're trying to convince people that they're trying to do the right thing and all this stuff. It's brutal. It's a brutally gory horror show. It's great. It's fantastic, right? I highly suggest it. It's awesome. It follows like a CDC guy and a couple other people that are trying to fight back to save New York, and they have these cool battle scenes where like it will be like the military lined up, and then it's like all these zombie vampire things come at them, and it's like a huge fight scene. It's pretty cool. There's a guy called Quinlan. He's like a half vampire dude, and he kills the vampires. It's pretty cool. He used to be a gladiator. All this fun stuff, but they come out with these bars, this food, right after this nuclear winter happens, and so because the sun's blocked out, people aren't getting vitamin D. They're not getting vitamin C from fresh food because the sun's blocked out. So they come out with these like power bars with like vitamin C and D and all this kind of stuff in it, and they taste terrible. Nobody wants to eat them, and they're probably process for like there's probably something wrong with them, right? But that's all they got. That's all they got. That's what you have it. You know what I'm saying? There's no other product out there. You know what I'm saying? So they're in high demand because that's all it's given to you. It gives you everything you need. That's it, right? So when a company has a corner on the market, even a company like that, they could have the worst NPS score in the world, right? And it wouldn't matter. But for companies like home improvement companies, you have other options out there. You can go look at other companies, right? You can get vinyl windows installed by a million different companies out there, right? What makes Renewal by Andersen different? The product is different, but the service is meant to be different as well. So our NPS score as a company is near 90% or not near 90, 93, something like that, right? The average for the home improvement industry is a 60. So we do pretty well. We do pretty well, but we don't want to negatively impact that. And when we get negative reviews, those reviews don't directly affect our NPS, but people seeing them affects our NPS. Now think about it for a second. When I go through these reviews, all these people, the common trend that you'll see is that they're talking to other people about it. They're talking to their friends. My neighbor had the same issue, right? And all of these things are completely preventable, except for one, which I'll go over. All these things are completely preventable, and they have nothing to do with us rebuttaling people. They have everything to do with us not leaving when we're asked to leave and lying to the customer. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through these things quick. So the first review says, watch out for these door-to-door reps and their fraudulent tactics. Had a rep come to my house last week and try to convince us that getting a quote, I'm getting a quote for our new windows. Initially by saying he noticed that we needed ours replaced. He then went on to state that he sees bowing in our large triple slider window on the center of the house. After letting him say his nonsense, we finally tell this guy that they're literally less than 2 years old. Not even this stops him. He goes on continuing to say, well, what are your issues then? Condensation, opening and closing. We had to ask the person to leave our property. Imagine how this could have gone for an individual more easily manipulated. Lying to them and saying that there's bowing in their brand new windows. Very deceitful practice. I'll be reporting to the Attorney General, which is a big issue. So what you're going to notice in these, it's crazy. It's bowing every time. Every time. Because here's what's happening, guys, is people, when I see this, I've been on the road quite a bit the last couple of weeks with people, and especially up in West, and I notice people listing off problems. They'll go, okay, well, a common thing is this, and a common thing is that. And then they'll literally say, and lastly, this. Think about what you're saying to a customer. If you say, and lastly, this, you're telling that customer, first of all, after I say this, I'm gone, right? Lastly, if you get through this, then you're done, okay? But if you do not look like a window professional when you're saying to every person, bowing, 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 bowing. You got to be able to point it out. If you're going to say it, you should be able to walk up to it and go, right here. That's where this issue exists, right? That it's very clear and simple thing, right? But I see this listing off of problems as a major issue. You know, point out what you see, definitely. If you don't see anything major wrong or anything wrong at all, now if you see something minor, the screens are all ripped, it's still a problem. It's not maybe what we should schedule an appointment off of, but it's a start to a conversation, right? But making a problem up is not going to help you at all. It's not going to make it better for you. Most customers are going to know that you're lying. And they're not going to schedule appointments either. So the second one, stop soliciting in the borough of Lewisberry. We're done with your scam style rudeness. Keywords there, scam style rudeness. Okay. Now we get this from time to time. You know, we're aggressive. We're rebuttaling people. This scam style verbiage is coming from that same, oh, I see bowing here. Oh, I see us using scripting to go over window problems. The rudeness you'll see come up again as well. And this is defined, like I said first with that story, by us saying things to customers like, they say, no, my windows are fine. And we go, no, they're not. Like, that's not being helpful. That's not going to win you any appointments. You know, oh, no, they're not. You might say something to the person like, yeah, you know, a lot of people don't get time to pay attention to their windows, sir. And I know that they can probably fail okay, especially if you lived here for a while. But the thing I did notice walking up is X, Y, and Z. As long as you can point it out. Okay, as long as you can point it out. Next one. Salesman came to my door and told me that the windows were bowing. Keyword again. How could he see that from the ground without a closer look? but decided to have my friend who's a real contractor look at them to be sure. And he said the salesman was just trying to make a sale. There was nothing wrong with them. Very shady tactic. Thank goodness I knew better. So same thing with the Boeing. Okay, with the Boeing, same thing. Now, obviously, we can see problems from the outside, but we got to be able to point out how we see them, where they are, right? It's a very simple process. Next one. Salesperson walking around our neighborhood was extremely rude when we said we weren't interested. Kept persisting over and over and would not leave our property. Same thing happened to our neighbor who just got his windows replaced less than a year ago. The salesperson said they were Boeing. Clearly, keyword Boeing. Clearly, he is not a window professional if he is tasked with bothering people at their homes. Leave us alone. This method of marketing doesn't work anymore. I do think that's funny because we did 50 million in sales last year. They say this method of marketing doesn't work anymore. And I hear that from people. They'll call in, they'll be like, this doesn't work. I'm a marketer. I know this doesn't work. Okay, buddy. But the important part there is rude, right? These are customers in different places. Maybe the same canvasser. I'm gonna investigate this and deal with this. But I know where these people live. I know where the reviews are coming from, so I can find out who canvassed the houses for sure. And that's what I'm gonna do. But the rude thing comes up again. The Boeing thing comes up again, right? If a window is brand new, guys, doesn't mean it won't have a problem. I am a big believer that we should go to every house. Okay, every house. If the house is brand new, you shouldn't be in the neighborhood. But if, like, let's say, like in my neighborhood, someone just built a house, I would go to that house, but I wouldn't push them. I'm gonna say, listen, I know the house is just built. Okay, I just want to introduce myself. I'm walking around your neighborhood. I want you to know who I was, first of all. Second, I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you're not happy with here, like the style of doors, style of windows, anything at all that I can help you with? They're going to say no, most likely. You say, okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. You have a great day. Beautiful home, by the way, too. Just want to stop by. Everything looks like it's pretty good, right? Give them a compliment. And here's the thing. They're going to be, if you do that way, and you're like easy out of their hair, it's a different experience than they've gotten in the past. And they're going to turn into a promoter, or at least at very least a passive and not a detractor in the neighborhood. Because what you're trying to do, guys, is every day you're trying to reset your own NPS score in a neighborhood. You can operate there in a good, positive way, right? So the more interactions you have like that, the better. So if you see those brand new windows, think of it as an opportunity. Maybe there's business there. Maybe they have an older door, something like that. But more importantly, it's an opportunity for you to create a friend in that neighborhood, a positive person in that neighborhood. Oh, no, that guy was a super nice guy, because you don't have to ask anything from them. So their view inherently is going to be positive if you do things the right way. You know what I'm saying? So find a personal connection you can make, something like that. But now that's one less person that's going to be going, who the hell is this guy and why is he in my neighborhood? Right? All right. You've come to my house several times. You've woken my children up from their naps more than once, which happens, guys. It is what it is. You gave me attitude when I told you to leave. That's the common trend that you see too. I live in Edders. I have a few choice words for you. A very rude gentleman who was soliciting. You're overpriced. Nothing but bad things to say about this company. And then we must have responded. And they said, no, you don't. You showed up at my house again, woke my 1-year-old up again. Next step is calling the police. The key word there is rude, guys. We're going to knock on doors. We're going to wake up babies. It's going to be a thing. For most people, they get it. It's part of life. You have babies. It's part of life. Your baby's going to get woken up. If my neighbor lets their dog out, my baby gets woken up. It is what it is, right? That being said, I don't hate my neighbor for that. I hate him for other things, but not for that. He's a sick person. So yeah, every reason I hate the guy. So got it. What's that? I'll tell you after the video's done. So I've gotten arrested more than once dealing with this guy. So, yeah. Like I said, I don't care about that. I mean, as long as it's for the right reasons. The rude thing is what keeps coming up, though, guys. If we're asked to leave a house, the proper way to deal with it, if you're asked to leave, is okay. Thank you so much for your time. I apologize for inconveniencing you. You have a great day. And guess what? When I tell you that, doesn't it make your job a lot easier? Doesn't make your job. Now, here's the deal. They say not interested, can't afford it, not doing windows right now, anything like that, that's not what I mean. But if they say, get off my property and leave, then wouldn't you rather me say to you, just leave, say something positive and leave, than say, no, stand there and push them. You know what I'm saying? If if you've been invited to leave, if they tell you, get off my property, right? And you stay there, you are now committing a crime. And that's up to you to deal with. That's not, the company is not telling you to commit a crime out there. And if you did that at my house, then I would beat the brakes of. I'm sorry. I would just, I'm telling you right now, if I told someone to leave my property and they insisted on staying, now they're in my world. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there's other customers out there like, and again, it's nothing personal, but if I tell you to leave my property and you're not, now you're a threat. Now you're a threat to me. You know, that's the difference between that and not. If I tell you not interested and you want to keep pitching me, it's part of it, right? But if I tell you, that's why what I tell, if door-to-door person comes to my house, first thing I tell them, I don't say hi. I say, leave my property. I don't say, oh, I work for a door-to-door. If they're good, by the way, then I'll try to pitch them on a job, right? But if they're not good, or if they're I don't like their pitch, then I'll listen the first couple seconds. I'll say, just leave my property, right? And that's it. That's the best response. You know what I'm saying? Because you should leave. You should walk away. I'll tell you, there's a lot of them that don't. A lot of them don't. And I try to be kind to them. I don't want to start a fight with every person that comes to my house, right? But I'm like, you know, no, listen, man, you got to leave my property. Like at this point now, I've asked you to leave. You got to leave my property. You should be gone, right? You should be gone. Renewal by Anderson constantly harasses me with junk mail and pushy trespassing salesmen. The only thing wrong with that review there to me, because junk mail we're not responsible for, trespassing, the guy didn't even spell the word right. You know what I'm saying? And that's not my typo. I copied and pasted from his review. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't even have a problem with pushy. The problem I have is when you have rude, pushy, then it turns pushy into rude, right? Like it's not, it's like if we just had, if that was the only review that we had negatively, then I'd be, okay, great job. You know what I'm saying? But that's the reason why it concerns me. Okay. So I put a video in GroupMe the other day. Okay. I'm going to play it real quick. You guys can listen to the audio. It's called United Brakes Guitars. Okay. And you're welcome to look it up if you want to as well. But it's this song that came out, and the backstory here is that this guy was flying in United Airlines some years ago, and he saw them through the window throwing all his luggage, right? That's what they do. They broke his guitar, and then they would not deal with it, okay? So he ends up making a song about it. He was a country music singer. Makes a song about it, blows up. The first posting of it gets like 40 million views. Takes it down, it's now back up. It's got 23 million more. Their stock price sunk right away by like 10%. Billions of dollars gone. Okay. Then the way they dealt with it was poor. They didn't get him a new guitar right away. They didn't deal with the situation. And he ended up making a second video that got less views, but still a ton, made their stock price go down again. We don't want to have that moment as a company. We don't want to be that as a company, right? So I'm going to play that song real quick. Okay. Stop sharing real quick. And we're almost through this. We're almost through this. I know it's a lot.
I flew United Airlines on my way to Nebraska. The plane departed Halifax, connecting in Chicago's O'Hare. While on the ground, a passenger said from the seat behind me, my God, they're throwing guitars out there. The band and I exchanged a look, best described as terror, at the action on the tarmac, and knowing whose projectiles these would be. So before I left Chicago, I alerted 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me. United, United, you broke my Taylor guitar. United, United, some big help you are. You broke it, you should fix it. You're liable, just admit it. I should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars. When we landed in Nebraska, I confirmed what I'd suspected. Mike Taylor had been the victim of a vicious act of malice at O'Hare. And so began a year-long saga of pass the buck, don't ask me, and I'm sorry, sir, your claim can go nowhere. So do all the airlines people from New York to New Delhi, including kind Miss Earlwig, who says the final word from them is no. I've heard all your excuses and I've chased your wild gooses, and this attitude of yours I say must go. United, you broke my Taylor guitar. United, some big help you are. You've broken, you should fix it. You're liable, just admit it. I should have flown with someone else or gone by car. 'Cause United breaks guitars. Well, I won't say that I'll never fly with you again, 'cause maybe to save the world I probably would, but that won't likely happen. And if it did, I wouldn't bring my luggage, 'cause you'd just go and break it into 1,000 pieces, just like you broke my heart when United breaks guitars. United, you broke my Taylor guitar. United.
So you get the point there, but that something like that, guys, can kill a company. I mean, it really can. I mean, if United Airlines is a huge, Sons of Maxwell is the name of the band, by the way, too. So the band only has 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. That video, even the second posting of it, has 23 million views. You know what I'm saying? So you can see the impact that something like that has. So we don't want that moment, even if it's not that significant. We don't want that moment. There's no reason at all why us as a company, we have a great product. We're set up in a great way. There's a lot of growth in this company, great ability to do extremely well because of the success level of our company. If all of a sudden that goes down because we can't canvas anymore, or we can't canvas in an effective way, that sucks. It really puts us in a bad position. COVID was a great example of that. Whenever we stopped canvassing, a big portion of our leads were gone, right? And we if that continued another year, the cost against our company, and we would have been okay because we're a financially healthy company, but other companies did go out of business because other renewable energies did, had to sell and whatnot. All right, so we don't want that moment, and we got to think about what it does and how it impacts us in neighborhoods, right? Imagine, for example, I just want you to think about this. You're this innocent guy. You started working for this company however long ago. You're doing your job. You're trying hard, okay? And you get assigned my neighborhood, right? And in my neighborhood, the last time I worked in it, half the time the customers saw me, I was on my phone texting, walking slow as fuck. Nobody knew what I was doing. They go, "Who's this creep in the neighborhood?" or whatever. I'd stop and hang out for a second, smoke a cigarette, stand there for a little bit. Customers would be driving by. I wouldn't be waving at them or anything like that. Just had this shitty look on my face because my girlfriend's giving me a problem. And, I walk up to houses and when the customer says, by the way, I walk up to houses and like a creep, when the customer says not interested, I just walk away. I'm just like, yeah, okay, bye. Right. So I don't even put any effort in at all, which is a negative too. That makes us look bad. When a customer says they don't have a problem with the windows or anything like that, I scoff at it. I got this shitty look on my face. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't say anything bad. I don't tell a customer to fuck off or nothing like that. But I do everything else. You know what I'm saying? I now you have to walk my neighborhood, right? You're pleasant, happy, fantastic. So you do okay. You're still going to get leads, right? But you run into that one customer I was really rude to. They remember the company name. You know, you're going to set a lead with somebody, and they're like, "Look, last time somebody came out, I'm a little bit concerned here." You know, and they schedule the appointment, but it's more difficult for you. Even if you're the best guy in the world, right? It's still going to negatively impact you. Okay, but now imagine the opposite. Imagine I'm out there and I'm walking motivated. When people see me, they see me happy, hustling. I'm not on my phone. I'm waving to people. I'm active in the neighborhood. I'm smiling the whole time. Every person that walks by, I'm talking to for a second. They're walking by with their dog. I saw, oh, beautiful dog. That's awesome. I'm with Renewal by Anderson, by the way. That's why I'm in the neighborhood. You know, what house do you live at? Right. I'm just talking to people. The person comes to the door, even the person that's in a completely terrible mood comes out the door and they're like, what the fuck do you want? My response is, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I must have stopped at a bad time. I apologize. My name is Paul Duffy. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. You, Mr. Jones? Yeah, get off my property. Okay, so you know, look, I apologize again. I don't want to waste your time. All right, I hope you have a great day. And then I walk away, right? No matter what, I'm positive, happy, smile on my face. When you go back in that neighborhood, it's going to make a significant difference. A significant difference. I remember going to this house with Adam Chubb, who's a sales rep now, FST now. And I remember going and I was like, man, this lady, last time I was out to her house, she was so mean to me. It was like bad. It was the neighborhood right next door here. She comes out and she's like, I'm fucking working. Get off my property. I'm fucking working. Like freaking out. Like just, I'm like, okay, man, I'm sorry. You have a great day. Yeah, you too. Get off my fucking property. Like she was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, so now I'm like setting him up. I'm like, dude, you're going to set this next person. Don't worry about it. Like, it's going to go great. You know what I'm saying? She's awesome, super nice. And so he knocks on this right as COVID starting, and she comes on. She's like, "Hey, honey, how you doing?" You know, and she set up an appointment with him. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But I have to say, if my interaction back to her was what I wanted to say, which is like, what is up, your ass? Like you're a loser. Your windows are terrible. Your house is terrible. It's disgusting. What do I? Nobody wants to marry you. Look at this. Like the things I wanted to say to the lady would have never gotten us business ever. You know what I'm saying? Would have got me fired in a second. You know. That's the thing. You know, it was just another same thing. I remember literally 4 houses down. We go to the house and he doesn't set the lead, but the lady's super nice. And I remember the last time I was out there, she was super mean to me. And I wanted to say to her, you look just like Barack Obama, man. Because she did. She really did. She looked just like him. She looked just like him. But I didn't say that. But that's the thing is being in a positive, friendly mood. There's a guy, there's a woman that we sold, right? The guy next door had Anderson windows. He replaced himself. Okay. They came out great. We were never going to get business from him. You know, he does his own work, whatever, fine. He literally, we were so friendly with the guy that he took the old windows and for like a year, he left them on the side of his house so I could bring trainees out to go see them every week. And we'd stop by his house and he would show us whenever he was home, he'd show us the windows and what he did and the quality of them and whatnot, because they were not Renewal by Andersons, they were Andersons, they were still nice. And then he'd show us the old windows, the rotting, the single pane. He would actually help us out with that. Super nice guy. Even if he wasn't home, I'd ring the ring doorbell, he'd jump on, we'd talk for a little bit. Super positive, right? The people next door I wanted to book forever because they had these windows that were just rotting out of their house on the top floor. But I would always miss them because in training, I would get out there at like 3 o'clock. I'd bring people out every week just for like the day, just to kind of see the job. Andrew's going to start doing that. Actually, I started having him do that. It's very helpful. But I would always miss them because she would go to work at like 1 o'clock. And so the guy told me that. I'm like, damn. So right before COVID starts, or right as it's starting, she was working at a college. They had gotten told to stay home. We go out there again. I see her in the backyard. I'm like, yes, I get to talk to her. And I must have left this lady 50 door hangers. You know what I'm saying? I talked to her husband once. He said, I got to talk to her. We go up back though, and she's doing the whole, like, she's already doing the elbow thing and stuff like that. So she's like this super weird lady, but super nice. You know what I'm saying? And again, she's like, yeah, my neighbor told me that you've been looking for me. I've been waiting for you to come back. We definitely need new windows. Like, this is great. You know, I see, you know, I've seen you doing training a couple of times. I just was too busy to answer the door, whatever. super, super nice and friendly, $40,000 sale. You know what I'm saying? It makes an impact and difference. Guy right across the street, one house down, veteran. First time I talked to him, he was trying to figure out his like the income he was getting from the military wasn't coming. And so he was upset about it. He was not very kind to me, but he it wasn't about me. He made that clear. And I was thankful to him, and I was like, look, I wish there was more I could do for you. If there's anything, just let me know. Obviously, there's nothing I can do for this guy, right? But just saying that, as soon as he got that income back, we scheduled with him. We didn't end up selling him or whatever, but we ended up demoing that guy, right? You can make a super positive impact. That neighborhood next door, I've knocked that neighborhood maybe 50 times. Okay. And every time I go there, I get leads every time. And the neighborhood has changed over and over and over again. There was one guy, for example, we went to his house. It was about a month after his wife had passed away. And were you there for that? No doubt. Yeah. Yeah, well, you were there for the second bout. The first time was when he came out and told me, hey, my wife died recently. And I said, okay, well, look, I'm not going to bother you with windows then, sir. I mean, obviously, you need to get your windows done at some point, but I'll tell you what, I know what loss is like. My best friend had just passed away, I think the first time I talked to him. And I said, I'm gonna come by and check on you, here in a couple weeks, just see how you're doing and whatnot. Let me know if you need anything. Here's my personal cell phone number. If you need anything, just let me know. Right. And then the guy, I go back out to his house a couple weeks later. I remembered, right? I go and check on him. He doesn't answer. I leave a little note, just say, if you need anything, I want to make sure you're doing okay, this and that, whatever. We end up going out there again. I don't know if we sent him that time, did we? We did send him that time. We go back out there. The next couple times I go out there, he doesn't answer. He's home, doesn't answer. We go back out there with me, him, and Tony, and we end up booking the guy. And I remember jumping in and going like, look, I know your wife passed away, this and that, whatever. I hope you're doing well, this and that. And like going like we talked then about you needing the windows replaced. You need to get them replaced now. Like you need to get them looked at now, right? And he ended up booking the appointment with us. Yeah, I knew at some point he booked it with us, but I couldn't remember when. But it takes sometimes that. Now you're not expected to do all that work, but if you're doing the right thing in the neighborhood and everybody else is, if we're all acting the same way like that, then think about the amount of repeat business that we'll get over and over and over again. The amount of times you'll go out to a neighborhood and it will be a very positive environment for you because of what I did, or for me because of what you did, right? If we all act the same positive way, then we're going to get the same positive result. Does that make sense? Okay. So our solution to dealing with angry customers, and this is going to be the last part that we go over for today, the identifying renewal by Andersen Windows. I'm going to do a separate video on it and send it out to everybody. And we have a video for it, so we'll do that separately. But our solutions to dealing with angry customers, right? Number one, always smile. Okay, always smile. You always now don't be the shitty smiles. You don't want to have a shitty smile on your face. Just be pleasant. Be the same person you are before they were angry to you. That's all. Okay. So smile and be consistent with attitude. Okay. This is stuff you guys should be writing down too. Okay. Smile and be consistent with your attitude. If you are told to leave, then politely say goodbye and walk away. Third, create a positive environment in the neighborhood. By communicating with everybody and communicating politely with everybody. Remember to act as a guest and a friend. Okay, so if I go into someone's house, right, in general, right, it's my first time at their house, even if they're a friend, I'm just going to take my shoes off. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to take my shoes off, right? If I go into a house, then I'm going to make sure that if I make a mess at all, I'm going to clean it up, right? So just, you think about these things. I'm not going to just light up a cigarette in the middle of somebody else's kitchen, right? So you go in front of a house, don't light a cigarette in front of the house, toss it out like that, not put anything on your hands, whatever. I do smoke, so I always carry like something, some kind of something with a strong scent to it, like lotion, with a strong scent to it, hand sanitizer, stuff like that, right? I would rather smoke outside than inside, so I never smoke inside with my work uniform on because I wouldn't want the smell, right? And I would go to a place where there's either no houses or like not a lot of houses, like a place where if I'm smoking, not that nobody could see me, but it minimizes the amount of people that can see me, right? And I wouldn't keep the cigarette butt on me. I'd get rid of it, and I'd either I've seen people keep like a Ziploc bag or something because the smell, right? Or I would toss it in a place where it's just not going to be out there overtly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to just like flick it in the middle of the road. You know what I'm saying? I'm acting as a guest. You know what I'm saying? I'm acting as a guest to their home. If I need something, then I'm respectfully asking for it. For example, if I need to throw something away, even though the trash can might be there outside, I'm going to say to that person, hey, look, I got this bottle. I don't want to carry it around. Do you mind if I just toss it in your can there? You know, no problem. Like act as a guest. Okay. Act as a guest to the person. Right. Friendly, positive, and personal. Okay. Personal connections can go a long way. You don't get too personal with customer. Friendly, positive, and personal. Be kind to the person. And don't be shady. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shady. Be very open with people. Don't be shady and enable it either. Okay. All right. So I know that there's definitely stuff that we could add, but in the interest of wrapping this up, and again, the renewal by Andersen part that I'm going to go through, I'll just say this: the importance of identifying our windows. We have an issue where we have people setting up our windows they're showing up to a renewal by Andersen customer that has windows that were installed within the last 5 years. And we're saying, hey, these windows are bad. Imagine if you spent 50 grand on a job just for an employee from that company to show up and tell you that the job was bad. Imagine how that feels. You know what I'm saying? And it's not true. It's not true. That's the problem. Like if it's true, then we deal with it on a service perspective, a service side, but it's not true. We're going out there and not seeing any problems and just making things up. If we clean up our window problem conversation and we can identify renewal by Andersen windows, these issues won't come up. I'm going to make a video about that. We do have training videos on it too, but there's two things that what I got to figure out, and I'm trying to figure out through the survey that I just put out, whatnot is what we need to add to our in-office training and our out-of-office training in order for this stuff to be taken care of. And I got some ideas for it. I know what we have to do. It hasn't been focused on enough. We can focus on emotional intelligence and all this shit, and it's important, some of it, but what's more important is just basic expectations that are clear and easy to follow on how we treat customers, right? Do you guys get this? Any questions? Okay. So the reason why I'm having everybody sit through this training is because it's a very high importance and it shouldn't lose us leads. So what I'm trying to do when I go through this training is tell you, hey, I don't want you to go to a neighborhood today and be like a puss about things. I don't want you to go to a neighborhood today and just not pitch people because, oh, I'm scared now to pitch people. That's why I've tried to give advice on what I would say as we've gone through training. It takes a lot longer to do that, but if I'm going to a neighborhood and like the Boeing thing, for example, very simple. Point out problems that you can prove exist, that you see. You know what I'm saying? Not things in theory that might have happened. Okay. It's okay to say, hey, the neighbors have complained a lot about drafts in the home. I'd say these are probably pretty drafty windows. How many windows do you have like that? It's fine to do that, but don't say, oh, I noticed warping here when you cannot point it out to the customer. Okay. So I've given you solutions with each thing I've brought up. That's why I want you guys to take down notes. So we should not lose any appointments. If anything, what I would say is that the gain that we have is I look at all these no demos and I go, okay, out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 situations that I put down here, probably 5 of them could have been demos. Okay. Probably 5 of them could have been demos. And we lost out. The canvasser lost out because they're not getting paid on that. The sales rep lost out because they're not getting paid on that. The company lost out because they're spending money to send the sales rep out there. Okay. By not having them on another appointment. All right. So it's very important that we understand, guys, we're all in this together. We have the most important department in the company because it starts with us. That being said, it starts with us. Okay. So we got to make sure that we go out there and make a strong impact. All right.